So the last couple of days, clients have been sending me messages about the River Park Estate along the airport road of Abuja. And you can almost not talk about real estate in Abuja and good estate development in Abuja and not at some point in the conversation talk about the River Park Estate. And indeed, the River Park Estate has proven to be one of those phenomenal estate development projects in the FCT, and it is indeed unfortunate that there are certain issues arising. And in this video, we're going to run down all the issues and, of course, be able to draw out important lessons that every one of us, both investors, both developers, every one of us must pay attention to, especially if you are an investor. This particular video is one that you must watch to the very end so that you understand the realities and, of course, some of the issues that may not be very visible in the beginning of a project, and of course certain things that you just have to know, especially as it concerns real estate in Abuja. So let's establish, according to this day, FCDA demolishes 35 illegal structures at Abuja's River Park Estate. All right. So key things to take away from this particular publication is the fact that there were demolitions, River Park Estate. Of course, we're going to establish why there were demolitions and we'll be able to proceed from there. So a few things that we must pay attention before we even go really deep into the conversation. Number one, there was a revocation of undeveloped plots, all right? And this revocation was necessitated by the expiration and breach of the development lease agreement, that is development lease agreement, DLA, all right? And of course, there was a reference to the development lease agreement. And this is a document that I have seen. I have seen this document, I have gone through this document, and I can tell the details of the document. But before we proceed in the entire conversation, let's establish a few other things. So the first question we have to ask is, when was the River Park Estate allocated? And more specifically, to get the full point in the conversation, it is safe to establish that the River Park Estate was commissioned in 2017. And the entire River Park Estate is situated on a 501 hectare site or expanse of land. So the summary of the entire issues that have been playing out in the River Park Estate right here. Number one, the FCT administration discovered that many construction activities were ongoing at the River Park Estate despite expired or revoked development lease agreement. Number two, a ministerial committee found that many undeveloped plots should be reverted back to FCTA because of breach of terms of lease or non-development. And of course, some developers disregarded stop work directives even before ownership issues were resolved in court. And over 30 illegal or substructure foundations were demolished for violation or violating planning regulations. There is a legal dispute over ownership between Jonah Capital Nigeria Limited and Polo Homes Nigeria Limited, and questions over forgery, land grabbing, and forged documents. All right, so Jonah Capital as well as Polo Homes Nigeria Limited. And of course, the last point in summarizing the conversation is a court ordered parties to maintain status quo, halt development, and refrain from further interference until matters are resolved. So let's rush back to where all of the issues are coming from. And of course, the lessons that all of us must learn as far as it concerns real estate investment in Abuja, and of course, any other part of Nigeria, really. How it started, River Park Estate was allocated, and beyond allocation, like I mentioned, River Park is one of those estates that you can beat your chest and say, this is a good estate to live in. All right, by all standards, in terms of management, maintenance, infrastructure, and everything in between. Lights, absolutely amazing. In terms of title documentation, River Park is one of those estates that was allocated by virtue of the mass housing scheme. But prior to the mass housing scheme, as it relates to what we now refer to as River Park Estate, it was supposed to be a government private sector project. But a lot of things happened, and the River Park indeed was born as an estate and then granted to one party, another party brought another party, and of course a third party came in without giving too much details. And later on, two names became prominent as far as the River Park Estate is now concerned, and that is Jonah Capital, as mentioned earlier, and Polo Homes Limited. All right, and in terms of title documentation, it was supposed to be a beautiful arrangement. In fact, as I've taught in previous videos, the idea is that mass housing was granted, and then the mass housing supposed to lead to getting C of O. And in fact, in previous years, C of O had been granted to those subscribers of the River Park Estate, all right, particularly phase 1 Phase two moved into another. Phase two is another conversation, which is why Dunamis is a part of the entire picture in the issue that has been happening with the River Park estate. All right, so phase three and a few other locations within the River Park, because there are five clusters: cluster one, two, three, four, five of the River Park estate. So people have C4 in the River Park estate already, which tells you that the idea of the mass housing absolutely was making sense with the foundation of the development lease agreement. All right, which I told you that at some point in doing due diligence in River Park, I had seen that document. Now, moving away from there, construction and development. Construction started in earnest a long time ago. And honestly, the idea behind River Park still remains phenomenal. However, as the days went by, as years went by, certain people started building in River Park. So in fact, if you check cluster one, cluster three, you will notice that consistent pattern of estate development. However, as time went on, they became mini clusters in River Park Estate where you were seeing different houses, blocks of flat that didn't look like the original building approval, and a lot of things in between. So there were a lot of differences, particularly in cluster 4, cluster 5 of the River Park Estate. So I believe, in my opinion, that could be one of the infractions of the development lease agreement, because there was a building approval that was granted, which ordinarily was supposed to be for the entire River Park Estate. So I'm not sure, or I don't know, if some developers who were doing what they wanted, if they got the right approvals as relates to building something different from the original approval that was granted, which I've taught you as clients that you must understand that once there is a uniform building approval, you have to use that uniform building approval so that there are no issues. The best you can do are internal modifications. If you have to do external modifications, then you must get fresh approval to validate what you intend to do as far as that particular project is concerned. So again, that could have been what, or that as publication has revealed, is one of the issues that led to the infraction of the development lease agreement. The other major issue with the development lease agreement is the fact that it had expired. So it means that, as I mentioned, River Park Estate was commissioned in 2017, and definitely the allocation was before then. Now, 2017 to date is, so that's about to 2025, is somewhere around 8 years or thereabout. And there was a lease agreement in the picture. And by virtue of that lease agreement, definitely there was a duration that River Park Estate must be built to a certain percentage. However, in my strongest opinion, these were not the core issues that River Park Estate had. The major issue that River Park Estate had is the power tussle. This is my opinion. The major issue, again, that River Park Estate had is the power tussle. The power tussle between the main players of the estate. And at that particular level, that gave birth to unnecessary media attention, bad media. In other words, there were a whole lot of bad media and, of course, court cases about River Park Estate. And in fact, certain things were done that I heard, that I saw with my eyes, that affected certain projects that indeed showed serious power tussle. And as far as the entire conversation is concerned on the issue of power tussle, the summary of it is that when two elephants are fighting, it is the ground that suffers. And moving away from there, because of the bad media, because of the back and forth with a lot of things, and in fact, it was turning into, it was becoming really dirty. And at that point, government moved in. And it is not strange for government to move in. In fact, in different locations across Nigeria, communities are fighting over land. Government moves in and then takes the land, right? It happens in every part of Nigeria. It happens everywhere. So it's not strange that government moved in. And then government moved. In fact, it's like saying in court, we lawyers would say that he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. Before you are all over the news, you must at least ensure that certain things are in order in your house. So apparently, there was bad media and everything were not in order as far as the development lease agreement was concerned. And of course, because there were breaches of the agreement, it simply means that government had every right to do whatever it was doing. And I noticed going into River Park Estate, I could see a lot of construction, fencing ongoing at the time. The fencing at the time could not really remedy the issues that have been done because government was already interested. Government already set up a committee to deal with the issues. So at the end of the day, fencing your house overnight could not remedy the issue. Lesson number 1. So there are major lessons for the developers of estates, for myself, for every developer in the FCT. But lesson for client is number one, build. Every statutory title comes with terms and conditions. Apparently, there was a breach as it relates to duration of when to build within the estate. But like I mentioned, that is not the primary thing that drew government's attention to the estate. However, try as much as you can to follow the terms and conditions. I know people who have projects in River Park who have not completed. As I've taught, at some point in your land banking journey, there's a short-term, long-term, and of course, there's a cash flow point of real estate that I've taught you, right? However, pay attention to the fact that the moment you are getting to a certain stage, or an asset is getting to a certain stage of development, make sure that you at least do your DPC. Start doing something, right? At that particular point in time, you won't be affected. This morning I spoke to one of the developers that has projects in River Park Estate, right? And then he has something that has gotten to the lintel, and at that point, he was not affected, right? And that is why there was emphasis on the point or the conversation around undeveloped. So if you have something that has been developed in River Park, then chances are you will not be affected by everything that has happened because your land has been developed. So you see how humane government would have been in dealing with this kind of issue based on the recommendation that was given by the committee. Lesson number 2, due diligence. So this particularly, some persons may have bought River Park Estate a few weeks back. Some persons may have bought land in the estate last month, 4 months ago, 5 months ago. So peradventure you bought an estate in River Park last year. Ordinarily, the expectation is that your lawyer should have done due diligence to the point where the lawyer can discover the lease, development lease agreement, and also be able to know when that lease agreement expires. And also tell you whether the moment you are buying, start building or hold on. As I've taught you, short-term land banking, long-term land banking, and cash flow areas of real estate. So it means that there are certain estates that you buy. The moment you buy them, you need to start building tomorrow, right? There are certain estates that you can also keep for longer term because of the realities of that particular estate and that particular location. And the last point I will share for the purpose of this particular video for investors is obey government regulation. The truth about it is that whether you like it or not, there are rules that govern everything real estate everywhere in the world. Part of the issue is that most of the times we don't enforce. So if government has approved that you build blocks of flat in this estate, don't go and build a detached duplex or don't go and build something commercial in there. Because what you are doing is that you'll be breaching this regulation. And it is only a question of time. If government decides to move in, then there would be issues. So whoever you are watching this particular video, my name is Raymond Ijoma, and I'm the lawyer who loves real estate. Or if you like, the real estate entrepreneur who uses law and real estate as a tool in building wealth for myself and my clients all over the world. If you're interested in investing in real estate in the FCT or around the FCT the very right way, do make sure that you reach out to the number shown right on your screen. And important, we have different estates across different areas of the FCT and around it. And if you're interested in any one of them, do reach out to the number shown right on your screen. Don't forget to share this particular video with as many people as possible, because this video will help many persons. And of course, the other video, we have a lot of videos on this channel that will educate you, impact you, and of course, show you how to invest in Abuja, in the FCT, the very right way. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.